Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Diggin It with Eric Richey. It's the VSN Volleyball Podcast, and we're so glad you joined us. Of course, our sponsors for this show, Farm Bureau Insurance, St. John, St. Charles Parish, as well as the Sports Pub and Grill in Destrehan. Man, we've got so much to talk to. We took a week off last week as we prepared for the Wrestling State Championships, which will actually talk about more at the end of this program, but a lot of news to get to, high school coaching news, and that's what our guests are going to be here to talk about this week. We're very fortunate and pleased to have Latashia Wise Jackson. You know her recently as the assistant at Dominican, but before that, she was just awesome at Central Catholic. Well, she is back in the reins as a head coach, coaching now at Vandebilt, where it all began for her. We're going to talk to Coach Wise Jackson in just a bit. We're also going to go up on the North Shore and talk to Joseph Halm. He does a ton of work with us here. You know him as a VSN analyst and also a sports writer for NOLA.com, concentrating on the St. Tammany Bureau Parish. But listen, he did an article on Coach Danny Tullis late January that basically talked about Coach Tullis's move from Pope John Paul to Slidell, and Eric Williams, his former assistant, staying at Pope John Paul to become the head coach at Pope John Paul. So we're going to talk to Joseph about that move as well. So a ton to get to in just a bit. But as usual, especially during this time of the year, we start this show off with club volleyball. And over the past couple of weeks, there's been a couple of big-time winners that we want to talk about. Again, we go to the NOLA 18s, who, again, win a tournament, this time the Beast of the Southeast in Atlanta. We've talked about this team before in the show. 3 of the 5 MVPs from the high school state tournament in November are on this team. Well, they take first in gold in Atlanta. They already got their bid to nationals in their last tournament in Texas. So congratulations goes out to them. WD Nation, the 17s Blue, came in second. So a tremendous honor for the team coached by Allison Hartman. Also want to talk about Southern Hospitality in Jackson, Mississippi, and a very young team, but a team that you're going to want to watch. We're talking about Core Elite, their 11s. Their head coach there on the far left, that is Jalon Braden. And we're going to talk to Coach Jalon. She's going to be on the show here in the next couple of weeks. But her 11s right there, they win gold again. And Coach Brandon now has back-to-back championships. This team won gold at the NOLA Blastoff as well. So congratulations to them. And also in Thibodaux, Coach Sandy Fusel's 14s, they continue to do the job. They win first at the Cowgirl Classic. A tremendous job by Coach Sandy Fusel, of course, going into the Hall of Fame this year. That's their second gold as well. That Rise 14s team won the LAV Invitational not too long ago. And congrats to Jody Pulizano and her crew club. The 16s have been playing great. There's Coach Jody on the far right. They won first at the Cowgirl Classic just about 10 days ago. And her 17s also a winner at the Cowgirl Classic, taking first place. So congratulations to all those winners. But as we said at the onset, the big topic of conversation on this show is coaching moves on the high school volleyball ranks. And that's where we go next as we head to Dominican Academy to go ahead and join Latashia Wise Jackson, who is the new head coach at Vandebilt Catholic. First of all, Coach, so happy to have you on the show and could not be happier for you. Congratulations. What's the buzz been like for you lately? This has not been a boring last couple of weeks.
No, it hasn't. I think everyone was a little shocked when I said I was going back to be a head coach after my, taking off the last 3 years. My life kind of took off. I got married. I had a kid. I have a son, Carson Jackson, and my husband, Christopher Jackson. So that's where I've been over the last 3 years. I've been, being a mom and being a wife, and it has been great. It has been wonderful. I've enjoyed that, but and I've enjoyed my time at Dominican. I just think now it's time for me to get back to the head coach realm.
Well, let's talk a little bit about it. First of all, let's just talk a little bit about you say that's where you've been. People in the volleyball ranks know where you've been. Trust me, especially if you're going up against Dominican, who's now won 3 consecutive state championships. You've been a big part of that. It's like, what's the phrase? Embarrassment of riches. They already have awesome coaching and awesome players. And then what? They're getting Latashia Wise as an assistant. That's my first reaction. Like, oh my goodness. So you did an awesome job there. What was it like those last couple of years as an assistant under Jessica Chatelier, and the job you've done with the JV team, but also preparing that varsity team? Man, I mean, you got the hardware and the rings to prove it. Well, from your perspective, what was the biggest difference, I guess? And I know moving to New Orleans was a change for you, for your family, but what was it like being an assistant at Dominican?
The last 3 years has been incredible. Working under Coach Jessica Chatelier has been great. Jess is wonderful. She's a great coach. She's a great mentor for the kids. She brings so much to the game of volleyball. And even entering this year into my 12th year, I learned so much from Coach Jessica and her philosophy, which greatly ties into everything that I believe in. And it showed over the last 3 years in her leading this team to 3 consecutive state championships, which I'll just go out on a limb and say I see another one coming in the future. But it's been great. Coach Chatelier has trusted me to lead that JV program. And then when I decided to take a step back, even to lead the 8th grade program, here at Dominican. So it's been wonderful. I think everybody know that winning is our ultimate goal, but just the environment here at Dominican High School, just the program as a whole is very wholesome. It's for young women. So I've been gracious and to be a part of such greatness so early, as from being a part of the very first Dominican championship to the 3rd one. It has just been great. And so I've been very blessed to be a part of such greatness here at Dominican.
Going now to Vandebilt to take over the program that Greg Castillo leaves behind after his move. Let me ask you, what kind of take me through the whole process. You knew there was an opening. You had coached there before. That was your first job in 2011 as an assistant. You started your coaching career at Vandebilt. What made you want to make the move now, and what enticed you to apply for the position and look at you now, the new head coach at Vandebilt High School?
Well, I would like to say that Vandebilt Catholic kind of enticed me. I really didn't have, I wasn't looking to leave Dominican. Like I said, I've been happy here. But when they reached out, I just, for my family, where I'm at right now in my life, I thought that it would be a great move for me. It wasn't kind of a lateral move, but it's a great move for my family and I. And like you mentioned, I was at Vandebilt Catholic back in 2011, where I coached basketball there as well. So to go back there where Vandebilt has had a successful program over the last couple of years and even before that, and being led by Coach Greg Castillo, who I also admire, have great respect for, I can't wait to also be a part of and continue something great at Vandebilt Catholic and hopefully lead them to much success.
Well, let me tell you, and we're going to show some video in just a little bit of some players that are going to be playing for you here in the not too distant future. But first, I want to tell you, so my daughter, Emma, obviously a setter at Mount Carmel, and she's going to be one of the ones that's going to try not to have you guys win 4 in a row. I'll tell you that right now. But they're loaded too. They got a great program coming back. So let me so she's on a team that plays in Thibodeau, and obviously Coach Sandy, you're an Assumption grad. And Coach Cooey's done just a fabulous job with him. But that team, the 16s, many of them, 4 of those players are going to be playing for you this fall. And their parents are obviously asking me, hey, we got a new coach. Do you know anything about her? Here's what I said to describe. I go, you have no idea how lucky you guys are. This is exactly how I described it. I go, they're like, well, what is she like? What is she like as a coach? I go, she is energetic. She is full of energy and passion and knowledge for the sport. She's successful. I go, I don't know what else you want in a coach, but you're getting it all wrapped up into one bundle. So how would you describe it? Am I accurate with that assessment, or how would you describe yourself as a head coach? I think I'm pretty close.
Well, I would like to say that I have been successful, and I'm very gracious for that success. That started at Vandebilt Catholic. I was there for 2 years, and we did make it to the semifinals. And then when I left the very next year, the team made it to the finals. And then my career led me to Central Catholic in Morgan City, where I was fortunate to, make the playoffs every year, win district titles, become coach of the year before I left, and ultimately make it to the state finals, where we lost to Country Day, but still having that goal set of getting those girls to the finals. So, and then my career led me to New Orleans, to Dominican. So I would like to say that I have been fortunate, and but and that's a lot of success to have in a 12-year span. But ultimately, I like to think that I've had a lot of success with just young women, trying to guide and lead young women to go out into society and take what they've learned from volleyball, take what they've learned from me, and help to guide them into the future so that they can become successful in anything that they do. Just making sure that they remain competitive, humble. So I'm very humbled over the career that I've had over the 12-year span, and I'm just looking forward to what the future is going to bring. I don't know what the future is going to bring. I've had great mentors over the 12 years. Like you mentioned, Coach Sandy Fusel, I played for her at Assumption. She's mentored me over the last 12 years of my coaching career. So I've just been blessed to be surrounded by good people, good volleyball coaches who have helped me and helped to guide me from a very young coach. You said very energetic when I entered into Vandebilt, from being a collegiate athlete to now, which you probably will see a little bit more reserved coach-wise, who's now a parent and understands it from a different perspective. So I've been very fortunate, and like I said, I'm very blessed of the career that I've had over the last 12 years.
That's awesome. And I was pretty close. My assessment was pretty spot on. So I told you I had some video of some of the players. Have you met your players yet? Have you had a team
I have
meeting?
not. It's coming up soon. I have not yet.
All right. Well, I'm going to show you some of so get ready, because
I'm looking forward to it.
Let's just say the cupboard is not bare. Justin, if you can, roll some video of some players. We got 2 lefty pin hitters that you're going to have. Here's one of them, Neil Grace Berry. She is just a stud. Now, these are all 2025, so they'll be upcoming juniors. Here's the other lefty, unbelievable Shay Sanders. Both of those girls just rocket the ball. Now, here's your middle. Here's Kenley Sebo. Look at that, number 9. She doesn't look like she's like a big, tall middle, but she has crazy ups. So there's another shot by Sanders on the outside. So it's kind of like a left-handed shortstop. You got a left-handed outside. Neil Grace Berry, she's a right side. She's an outside. She's all over. And then there's Kenley Sebo, very smart, energetic, athletic player. So there's the video you have, Coach. You also have Addison Osimo on that team as well, a great DS. Rise 16 has 4 of your players that are going to be studs. You've got some players, Coach, coming back.
Well, that's always a good thing. That's always a good thing to start. And I'm excited to meet them and get to working with them to hopefully have some success at Vandebilt Catholic. It's a successful program. So it's not like I'm following a scrub. I'm following the very talented Greg Castillo. So I have my work cut out for me, and I look forward to it.
Okay, well let's talk about how this volleyball thing all began. And you said you were a collegiate athlete. You played basketball at Xavier, but you did say you played volleyball as well under Coach Sandy. So take me back to young Latashia Wise at Assumption High School, multi-sport athlete. Tell us how volleyball played into it and how you wound up as a volleyball coach.
Funny story. I always thought I would be a basketball player. And when I left basketball, I thought that I'll be a basketball coach. And my career at Assumption High, I think I had a good career. And like I said, I had a great coach in Coach Sandy Fusel, who pulled me to the volleyball rim. I went kicking and screaming because I said, I'm a basketball player, coach. I don't play volleyball. And she said, yeah, you're going to play volleyball. And I said, I don't play volleyball, Coach Fusel. I'm a basketball player. And she said, okay, we'll see about that. I'll see you at tryouts. And then I went to tryouts. And as a freshman, from saying that I don't want to play volleyball, I found myself very quickly on a varsity team.
Yes,
if you know anything about Assumption Volleyball, it's been a great program for years and years with some great athletes that have come out of Assumption High. And in that freshman season, I found myself in the Pontchartrain Center, one of the biggest showcases in state Louisiana, playing against, I think it was John Curtis in the semifinals when it was Joanna McKnight that was there. And I was like, what is going on? Like, how is this possible? I literally said I did not want to do this. But needless to say, that's where my love for volleyball started. And then I went to college where I decided, hey, I'm still a basketball player. I'm going to continue my career as a basketball player at Xavier. And funny story, Coach Greg Castillo was a volleyball coach at Xavier when I arrived there in 2005.
Wow.
And he had this crazy idea that you should be a two-sport athlete. Come play and I said, oh, I guess not. I'm definitely not doing that at the collegiate level. And this time I'm definitely going to say no and mean it. So he and I always joke about that, how I turned him down and I said no to playing college volleyball. But soon after I graduated from Xavier, I graduated with a degree in psychology and business, which I have taught over the 12 years. And then I left and I said, I want to further my career in basketball. So I would like to coach basketball and one day maybe coach collegiate basketball. So I went to Vandebilt Catholic under the leadership of Coach Kathy Luke, which she's one of Louisiana's greatest basketball coaches. And she took me in and I worked with her and she ran very much so a clean college basketball program. And, I went to some clinic, who wants to be a coach, for the Final Four in basketball. And I met all kinds of basketball coaches. And then I got back the next year and Vandebilt Catholic said, you want to be the head volleyball coach? We have an opening. And I said, what? No, I don't. I haven't played volleyball, been around volleyball in a couple years. And then JJ Wan called me and Coach Fusel called me and said, you should do it. You should do it. I think you'll be good at it. And I said, well, okay, let's see. And that's where it started my career as coaching volleyball at Vandebilt Catholic. And then from there, it just kind of took off with my passion and love for volleyball. I found it, they say you tell God your plan and then, he'll make you laugh. So from then on, I became known as Coach Wise, the volleyball coach. And, people tell me, they say, you don't coach basketball, you play college basketball. And I said, no, I don't. So it's kind of funny, and I've had my years where I coach at Central Catholic basketball, but my love has been volleyball. And I always found myself going back to volleyball, going back. Yeah. So I think God's trying to tell me something again.
Yes,
so here
indeed.
I am.
Here you are again.
Coach.
In your story, you alluded to JJ Wan. Tell me how again he played a part in that. What was his role?
JJ and I competed against each other at my time at Assumption as a player. when
Yes.
he was at Mount Carmel.
Okay. Right.
And so when the volleyball position came available, somehow, JJ Wan, he's tied into every aspect
Everything.
of
Oh yeah.
volleyball.
Yes.
So he got wind of it and he called me. I hadn't spoken to him in a while. He said, I think you should take that job. And I said, JJ, what? Like, I quickly go from you being a coach with me playing against you and trying to compete against Mount Carmel, who was very powerful then, to now JJ becoming one of a mentor of mine and definitely a very good colleague now of mine. So that's how he played a part in it. And from then on, he and I have talked about volleyball and,
Yeah.
and all kinds of
Same.
techniques and drills. And, so that's how, that's my love for JJ Wan.
I love it. I love it. Let's go back to your high school coach when Sandy Fussell, who, again, if you haven't heard, headed to the Hall of Fame finally after 9 state championships at Assumption. I don't know. I lost track. But tell me about the story about her pulling you over from basketball and saying, no, you are going to play volleyball. And give me some of your memories and tell us about you as a player. Were you an outside? What position did you play?
No, I played middle.
You played middle. You were middle.
I was a middle blocker. The times has changed so much since my time as a player. But now you say the kid you showed me from Vandebilt, that's the middle. You said she's not very big, but if you notice, the game has extended itself to the middle blocker being quick, very agile and short.
Yes, that's Kenley. Yeah,
so and very explosive. When I played, the middle blockers were tall, and had the ability to be agile and move to the pins to block. Yeah. So here I was, a 5'9" baskesketball player who could jump a little bit, not very knowledgeable about the game of volleyball. And she said, yeah, you're going to play volleyball. And I recall early in my freshman year, spraining my right ankle to the point where they said, you probably should have just broke it. And I immediately I said, Coach Fussell, I'm done. This is a sign. I'm done. And she said, no, you're not.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
She's very stubborn. But some of my fond memories of Coach Fussell, she's very humble, which I am very, very happy for her and all of her accomplishments. It couldn't happen to a better person.
What did you learn from her? What do you remember about her as a coach? What was she like as a coach? And what did you learn then? And obviously she has mentored you, throughout your coaching career at Central Catholic as well. What did you take from Coach Sandy?
There's a lot of things that I took from Coach Fussell, and it definitely makes me emotional. But if I can say or pinpoint one thing, Coach Fussell always taught us to be student athletes.
Hang on one second.
And you were a volleyball player, but ultimately,
everybody look in their cameras and smile.
I think that what I've learned the most is that she helped us to become
good stuff.
Young women who can
Coach,
be independent.
Have you seen any of that video before?
That was my first time seeing that.
Oh my God.
You may not always be the best, but you're going to come in and you're going to work hard every day.
I've never seen lefty outside.
I've also taken from her to be fair.
I guess Neil Grace,
to be fair
to the
overall individual, to make sure that you're a team player ultimately. And it's not just about one person. Coach Fussell never cared who was the star. It wasn't just about one person. It was about the entire team. And she was fair. I played with both of her daughters, who were my setters. And I will say she was fair. Now, Coach Fussell, she didn't yell and scream a whole lot, but we knew that if Coach Fussell sit down and put her hand over her lip, that we were in trouble. And, she didn't call many timeouts, and her timeouts didn't come when we were in trouble. They came when we was kind of competing a little bit, but when we were in trouble, she would let us figure it out. She said, you got yourself into this, so you got to get yourself out of it. And we'll look over and say, she going to call a timeout? And no, it wasn't happening. So she taught us some self-perseverance and to always work hard.
Outstanding. It's been a pleasure to know her, and I can't even imagine, your experiences with her. That was well put. What was your favorite memory in high school? During your time in Assumption, did you win the state championship, or what? Give me your favorite memory during your run at Assumption as a volleyball player or a basketball player.
Unfortunately, we didn't check that. I didn't check that off of my high school accomplishments or goals, if you would say. But they say that winning a championship is the most memorable part of an athlete's high school career, and I'll say yes, I can understand that, but just the overall competitiveness. We Assumption High School, Coach Sandy Fusel, made a name for ourselves from a small little town, Napoleonville, that when we walked in the gym and people saw that red and black, they knew that we were coming to compete. I have a lot of fond memories playing volleyball and basketball for Coach Sid Acosta at Assumption High School, but I will never forget one of the most humbling experiences of my life and my career is when I got a phone call from Coach Fusel that she wanted to put me into Assumption's Hall of Fame. That was one of the most humbling experiences of my life, because here I was, I was an all-state player in both sports, but I never won a state title. So here I am thinking, I'm not that great, I'm just one of the many athletes that have come out of Assumption among all of the stars, Kim Willoughby and Brandon Jacobs, Tremont Williams, Kia Converse. I thought I was one of the smaller athletes, that didn't quite deserve that honor. And Coach Fusel assured me that, yes, you do. And so when I saw my jersey on the wall at Assumption and still there, and when my players go back now from different teams and they see that it's still there, is very humbling for me. And it lets every athlete know that you didn't always have to be the ultimate best or win a bunch of championships, that as long as you work hard, that success is always there.
That is awesome. That is really good story. I can't wait to go back to the Assumption gym now, hopefully in a club tournament or something, and look up at that jersey. So I guess as we let you go, our parting question, give us the itinerary. What's next for you? When do you get started at Vandebilt? And kind of what are your expectations as you go down there as the first year head coach for the Lady Terriers?
I ultimately, I just want to make sure that, we work hard. You can always outwork any team. Of course, if you outwork people, you get in the gym every day and work hard and get better every day, that success is going to come. You're going to win. You're going to win games. I'm not expecting or putting out there that I expect to win a state championship. But if we can just get to the playoffs, that's success in my book. I hope to compete against some of my friends and get back into that realm where I can talk to people, talk to head coaches, and I'll be at Mount Carmel playing against your daughter
Awesome.
early on in the season because I've started working on the schedule. So if we can just work hard and ultimately compete, then I'll be grateful for that. I'm excited to get started with some of the athletes there and the young program, and just to see what's going to happen. I'm excited about what's going to happen the years to come. So as I've been getting over and over, going back to the Bayou, and I'm excited. A place that is near and dear to my heart, close to my hometown. I'm excited about that.
The future is bright for Vandebilt Catholic. I can attest to that. We could not be happier for you, Coach. Congratulations. Best of luck to you. Can't wait to see you again and just give you a hug and just, man, I'm just real happy for you. And like I said, I showed you at least 3 of the 4, but you got 4 good players from that Rise 16 club team that's going to be studs for you on the high school level. Good luck to you, and thanks again for being on the program.
Thank you very much, and thank you guys at VSN for inviting me this morning. It's been fun, and thank you again.
You got it. Good luck to you. That was, again, Latashia Wise Jackson, the new head coach at Vandebilt. And I'm going to tell you what, that team is going to be excited, and watch out for Vandebilt. They've got great players and now a new exciting head coach. So that's the first half of Diggin' It. Again, brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance from St. Charles and St. John Parish and the Sports Pub and Grill in Destrehan. Don't go anywhere. Joseph Halm is going to join us in just a second to talk a little bit about the situation on the North Shore with Danny Tullis going from Pope John Paul to Slidell. We're back after this.
Hi, my name is Will Sermon from St. Charles, St. John Parish Farm Bureau. On behalf of my entire staff, I want to wish all the players and coaches the best of luck. Real service, real people.
The Sports Pub and Grill in Destrehan has it all. A great place to watch the game, daily drink specials, and you won't believe the food. From our fresh 10-ounce burgers, fully loaded baked potatoes, and great salads too, like taco salad and grilled chicken. Need something to rinse it down with? How about one of our refreshing daiquiris? A great atmosphere for the whole family. Just a few miles west of the airport. The Sports Pub and Grill, 3001 Ormond Boulevard in Destrehan. Welcome back to Diggin' It podcast. I'm Eric Richey. So glad you're with us. And again, volleyball throughout the year on this podcast. We do the show during the high school season, but we've continued on during the club and beach season. And our next guest is a friend of VSN. He's done a fabulous job as an analyst in not only volleyball, but he's done soccer, softball, many sports, as well as his day job, which is a sports writer for the St. Tammany Farmer. Let's bring in our good friend, Joseph Halm. And Joseph, welcome to the program. Happy New Year. I mean, it's the only one you're going to get in February. I haven't seen you in the year 2023. How's everything going? And welcome to the program.
Going good. I mean, we're busy. You know, soccer's going full tilt, and basketball's about to start the playoffs, and you know, carnival's coming up. So I'm just making all sorts of plans to try to get my stringers out there and try to see as many sports as I can while, you know, catching a few parades in the meantime.
Before I get into volleyball, I think the last thing I saw a lot on social media was you proudly sporting the green at some little football game over in Dallas. You were pretty excited, man. Good for you.
I don't know if you know how much bad Tulane football I've watched over the years, but I've watched a lot of it in a lot of different places. And I'll tell you this story. My wife and I went to that, and she was convinced, you know, Tulane was going to win, and I was convinced Tulane was not going to win. Because, you know, I've been conditioned to that my whole life. And she's, you got to believe, you got to do this. And the last 4.5 minutes happened. And I had to explain every step of why that was important for us winning. And the whole time she just said, we're going to win. It's going to be fine. We're going to win. We're going to win. We're going to win. And then we finally won it. I've seen a lot of crazy sports in my life, and I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. And it's good to be a fan sometimes. It's really fun to get out there and be able to enjoy that.
It was so much fun just watching your post of the smile that you and your wife just lit up at that Cotton Bowl victory for the Green Wave. That was awesome stuff and well deserved. Congrats to you for putting in all the hard work to get to it. My fandom is just the opposite for the Reds, right? I had all my fun years as an 8, 9, 10 Big Red Machine 70s era. Then I put in 30 to 40 years of just since the 90 World Series of just and I'm still hanging. You know, if you see Ed Daniels, he'll tell you Eric Richey turned in his Cincinnati Reds fan card. And then the other day I'm like, no, it's okay. I'm excited about getting Will Myers. He's like, you are out of your mind. So anyway, let's get back on track. Tell me about how'd you get involved? How'd you become a sports writer? Let me ask you that before I even get into volleyball. How did you get into your career?
Sure. I mean, I guess the short story is, Grandpa put me in front of a sports page when I was a kid and taught me about lines, and I was hooked since then. But long story is, I went to Loyola. I graduated in '04. I moved up to Arkansas, worked for a paper there, and I came back here in '09. And I've been stringing ever since, freelancing for the Times-Picayune, for the Advocate. Now I'm working full time for the Farmer, and it's just, I've always been a sports guy, and I'm 5'6", and I'm not that fast. So the other option was to be a writer, and I found out I was pretty good at it. So I've just sort of been trucking along since then, and I can't imagine not covering high school, because it's just college is a grind and the pros is a grind, but high school is where you get players learning to love the sport, and it's really a pure, just sort of fun rivalry based slash athlete playing out of their mind slash, when you get a great coach, they can make such a big difference in a young person's life. And I mean, it's just been so much fun, and I just love covering at the high school level.
No, that's well put. And that's where I met you. And then when I had riverparishfootball.com or nolacatholicleague.com, I'd bump into you at several events, and always admired your work. And you're right. You are good at it. You do a great job. And then we started VSN. So we just like, hey, Joseph, hey, you want to talk about this? Yeah, I know you and I did the Pink game one year, Mount Carmel and Dominican, and did the All-Star game. You've done a bunch of stuff with us. You do a great job as an analyst as well, color commentator, and then we made you do play-by-play. You're like, well, hey, whatever you need me to do. So my question is volleyball. And you, way before I got into this sport, and you were, into volleyball. You knew the landscape, the good teams, the players, coaches, and I looked up to you for knowledge, or I, read your articles and studied and tried to find out what was going on. Where did you get that interest? We all have, a sport that we kind of like more than the others, but you definitely have a passion for volleyball. Tell me how that started.
I really think it started, when I was stringing, when I was freelancing, I talked to coaches and I'd cover a game and they'd ask me to come back because I had some knowledge of what I was doing and I wasn't just a deer in the headlights. And that happened for a lot of the quote unquote small sports, volleyball, soccer, softball, where maybe they don't get as much mainstream coverage. And I just, these athletes fight as hard as anyone else. And I, wanted to do a good job and do right by them because they don't get quite as much volume of coverage at times as some of the, football, basketball, sort of the bell cows. And I just got into it. And, if you can't get into a volleyball match, I don't know, you're not a sports guy, because they're so much fun. Everyone's into it. There's such great athletes, especially in the New Orleans area. There are so many great athletes, both hitters and setters and, in the back line. And if you just take a minute to actually appreciate it, you'll appreciate it as a sport. And then all the coaches, and you and I have talked about this, the community is so tight in the volleyball world. So number one, I don't want to make anyone mad, because I don't want any coach mad at me for doing a poor job on it. And two, they are some of the most helpful people in terms of understanding, hey, coach, I noticed this. And she's like, well, actually, or he would be actually, this is why we did that. And it's a very quick sport to pick up, especially when you have coaches and players who are so passionate about it.
Well, I know that passion and that knowledge and that trust that you develop and a rapport with coaches certainly came out in your article on January 27th when you broke the news that Danny Tullis would be leaving Pope John Paul after 10 years and going to Slidell to become the new head coach there. You and I sat next to each other at Press Row at the state championship at the in Lafayette at the Cajun Dome the morning after the tragedy that hit their family with the passing of Christian with the automobile accident. Just a horrific story that happened to their family just the night before a state championship. I guess if you can tell us a little bit about that, when you talk to Danny to get the for the story, kind of give me your take on the whole thing, on how he's doing, the family, and on the move to going to Slidell.
Yeah, I don't know what that family's going through. I don't have any kids, but I can only imagine how tough it's been on them. As Eric mentioned, I mean, we talked with Allie at the state tournament. I don't think I've seen a young athlete handle something as well as she did in that moment. So that tells you just how strong of a family that is. But talking to Danny, I mean, that's tough. He is one of the more intense volleyball coaches, and that is who he is. And he is also one of the more passionate, and he loves every player that comes through his system. And he had a great 10-year run at Pope, and it was going to last another 2 or 3 years or so, or however long he wanted it to. I mean, he wasn't going anywhere. He has a very strong, Pope has a very strong rising senior class. So they were going to make another run, and they probably will make another run this year in Division II. But when that happened, I just, he's a family guy, and that is a volleyball family. I went and did a story on them midway through the season. They had, locked up that 2 seed, and I wanted to get sort of a flavor on them. And I talked with his wife, Diana, and she's showing me videos on her phone of the kids playing volleyball on the couch and setting up a net, playing volleyball. And I don't know if anyone noticed, there's a lot of road construction in the area, playing volleyball over one of those, road barriers. They just play volleyball everywhere, and they talk volleyball everywhere. And, the sport means so much to that family. All 4 of his kids played, Ansley's over at Southeastern. Allie's probably going to go to Pearl River Community College. I think they're still working on that, but she'll play at the next level. Christian was a very good club player. Colin, their youngest, is another player. So volleyball means a lot to that family. And, to lose a son like that, to lose a son, period, is hard. To lose a son in the midst of what the family loves, it had to be just devastating. And Danny's been, he's been very good to talk to me, and I think he trusts that, it's a safe space, quote unquote, that I'm not going to try to sensationalize anything, and I'm not going to, he said some things off the record that are tough, and that, that's between him and I. But that story was just something that needed to be told, because I know the Slidell community is so tight knit, and it's just such a tough situation, because he's done such a great job at Pope John Paul, and to not be able to walk into the gym anymore without feeling a sense of loss, that is just, I can't imagine that as a coach, as a player, as an administrator, as anything, where you can't go into your place of work anymore without reminding about one of the worst losses in your life. So I'm glad that the Slidell job came open, and I think it just sort of worked out timing wise sometimes, and the Telus will say this God has a plan, and in this case, I think it worked out well for him, and he inherits a very good club, which is nice. There's a lot of talent over there, but more importantly, I think it gives him a chance to still enjoy the sport he loves so much and be able to sort of build something new, because he's getting to the point in his career where retirement's closer than not. And I think he just needed that change, and it's a real blessing that he has an opportunity to do that in a community that he knows and that he understands. So maybe that can start some of the healing. And most importantly, I think for both coach and player, was that Pope has a great coach in Erica Williams coming in. She did a tremendous job in the state championship. So that crew is not going to be losing anything in terms of quality. So I think this couldn't have worked out any better for all sides. It's just a heartbreaking situation.
You talked a little bit in your answer there, Joseph, about Allie maybe not seeing a player handle a situation as well as she did that morning of the state championship. I will be an Allie Tullis fan forever. And I was a fan of hers before, and the way she has set her dumps and her knowledge of the game, and just the soft hands, and just a tremendous setter. But how she handled herself that day, leading her team onto the floor at the Cajun Dome, then playing a pretty good game, all right? And then in the post-game interview room, you, myself, Christopher Dobb, we were in there, and Eric Williams, again, you brought her up. Fabulous job of keeping that team as composed as possible. And then the things that Allie said, looking right at both of us with her answers. I'll always remember it, and I'll always be an Allie Tullis fan. What do you remember about Allie that day of that state championship morning?
I remember I was making a point to watch how she handled the warm-ups, and they played the national anthem, and they did the moment of silence and all of that, and her and Reagan, they were right next to each other, and they just sort of like were holding, they were holding hands. They were obviously comforting each other, and they were both taking these huge, deep breaths. And I don't know how both of them held it together, but they did, and they found a way to get out on the court and just play. And once they were out on the court, I think everyone was going to be fine. It's sort of that just this is home. This is where we know. This is how we want to do things. This is familiar for us, and they handled themselves so good, against a very good Newman team that played well as well. But I'll never forget I don't know how, if I thought back to when I was 18, I'm 40, I'm going to be 41 next week. When I was 18, there is no way on earth, if my sister had passed away the night before, that I was going to be able to play a sport and be anywhere near what I was. I probably would have tried to do it, and I would have been an absolute wreck. I mean, that's just me being 100% honest. And she did it and played a very good, solid game, and that entire team played a very good, solid game. And when she made the first set, and it looked like just a straight up Allie set, like there was nothing different, there was nothing off about it. She did it like I've seen her set the ball the last 3 years, 4 years of going to practices. When I saw that, I just knew that they were in their comfort zone on the court, and I didn't know what we were going to get in the press conference. I thought for sure somebody was going to break down, or we were going to have to really, try to, we're all professionals, so we're trying to handle it as, as not kick gloves, but, as respectful as possible. And she just stood up there and she had a message, and she answered every question head on.
Christian, if it wasn't for you, I would be at home crying in my bed. But I know you wanted to go to Penn State, and I know you wanted me to shine. So we put your initials on our bows, and I wrote you on my wrist, and I love you forever.
And she just did everything that you would think I wish some professional players would do when I see them, get interviewed. And she did that. And, the beginning and the end, she handled that so well that those two things stick out, is that she was so emotional right before tip, pulled it together, and, afterwards was so professional and direct that, I have a job to do and I want to get out a message, and we had a great match, and I want to honor Christian this way. And, she did a tremendous job of that. And Danny actually mentioned that when I interviewed him, is that, he's the emotional one, and Allie's like, all right, coach, all right, Dad, we got to do this. We got to be like this, and that personality just shone through throughout that entire day. And I know that whole family's hurting, but man, did she just handle herself with the utmost bit of class and dignity, and, took everything head on and really did her family proud.
Most definitely did. So Danny Tullis leaves after 10 years of Pope John Paul with 5 state championships, 2 runners-up. Before that, people might forget, 3 state championships at Fontainebleau. And something that I learned reading your article was that state championship in 2011 was the last time a public school won a state championship in Louisiana. Unbelievable. Now he goes to Slidell. You said the cupboard is not bare there either. I know one player in particular, Reagan Robinson, is sensational. She'll be an upcoming junior. Do you think Division I needs to take note, is my question.
I've told a lot of people this. I think that 2024, they're a contender for a state championship. If the players take to his coaching, because Danny, he's an intense guy, and that's what he is. And he does it with love, but it takes some getting used to. And I think a year in the system, because remember the first year at Pope, when they had very little success, they went to the quarters. Now this is a Slidell team that had a first round victory last year, who has a bunch of travel ball players. Michelle Anderson did a tremendous job over there. They're really a program on the rise, period. And they have a bunch of rising sophomores and juniors. If they take to his coaching and he sort of gets his program in there and they all buy in, that district, which is already crazy good. Our district is that volleyball district on the North Shore is just insane. It's just every year it's just North Shore and Mandeville and Fontainebleau and now Slidell has been always competitive in it, but now I think they'll take a step up just with what Danny Tullis brings. I mean, it's going to be as battle tested a team as anyone in the state. So I would say Slidell's definitely a team to watch moving forward.
How about Pope John Paul and Erica Williams? Obviously, there's, as you just mentioned as well, there are some upcoming seniors that have obviously a ton of not only experience, but ability. And again, I don't want to overlook, and I think I did, and I kind of beat myself up a little bit of my coverage and VSN's coverage during the state championship of not giving enough credit to Erica Williams. And the job she did was phenomenal. At that state championship game, calling timeouts and bringing her players together. And then the job, as we just talked about, we talked about Allie at the post-game press conference. How about Erica Williams, with the opening comments at the podium and, really, even reminding Allie that, Allie, don't you have a message you want to give, and tell me about Erica Williams and a Slidell grad, again, that I find out from your article. So, there were some conversations like, there's a job, how are we going to do this? So the Slidell grad is going to stay at Pope John Paul as the head coach. Tell me about Erica Williams.
She's been there 2 years now. She really has a bond with that team. And I think when all of this happened, and I think I said this on Twitter, I didn't editorialize in the article too much, but this was an example of adults actually coming together well to make sure that the children, because remember, these are kids. These are 15 to 18-year-old young ladies who are kids, who have been through a traumatic experience at that school. That entire school has been through that experience, and I can't imagine what that's like. But they all came together to say, what's the best for us and for the children? And Erica's a tremendous coach. She's run a club up there in Slidell for the past 5 to 7 years. They're very successful. She's a former player, you mentioned it, at Slidell. Smart young lady, good volleyball coach. She's only going to get better with time, with experience. But everyone came together and said, look, what's the best for me and what's the best for these young women? And Erica mentioned this to me on several occasions when I talked to her when they announced her for the job, was that she really felt a bond with these girls. She really felt a bond with the school, and she wanted to continue that and wanted to continue to be a part of that. And that just speaks to what they built over there at Pope John Paul amongst a lot of the sports program, but especially the volleyball program over the last 10 years. It's such a family atmosphere, and this past year, it took on that even more. They made games, events, they had music, they had all this other stuff. The entire school would come out. And now Erica gets to continue that with a bunch of players who, she's coached for the past couple of years. She's coached with Danny before. She's able to have that continuance of what they're doing. And I only think it's going to get better over there. I mean, they have such a good program. They have good support from the administration. Richard Diodoni's done a great job as the athletic director. And I can't say this enough. I was so impressed in this day and age when you think of people, doing me first type things. These were two adults who sat down and said, look, what's the best for everybody involved? And Danny obviously couldn't go back to Pope. And, Erica says, well, Slidell, you're a great coach. I coach with you. Slidell's going to get a good coach, but I want to stay with these young ladies, start my head coaching career at a place where I'm comfortable, where I can also give them support that I don't think anyone else can give these young ladies the support they're going to need, because that first game next season back at Pope is going to be an emotion. Like, it's just the way it's going to be, because it's going to be their first, game of the first match they play since that incident at a regular season level, and it's going to be emotional for everybody. And that's just someone who's guided these girls through this and just provided them with the support they needed. And I want to give both of those people credit for that, because they really have looked out for what's best for the school community and for the athletes, and that's something you don't always see in this day and age, and they deserve some credit for that.
Well put. All right, another coaching change I want to get your opinion on and just kind of get your take. You've obviously done a ton of volleyball, not only on the North Shore, but in New Orleans. You've probably seen at least 75% of the last Dominican Mount Carmel matchups head to head, and you've seen both of those teams state championships and in the tournament. Taylor Conaway Rishu, the longtime assistant for April Hagedon, who's a coach, a great coach for WD with Danny Tullis with the club travel ball, has a great 16s team. Tell me about that move. And again, getting a new head coach at Mount Carmel that is very familiar. She has coached every player on that roster that she'll have next year in varsity. Give me your take on that move at Mount Carmel.
I mean, I think that was a no-brainer for Mount Carmel. You have someone there who's very talented coach. Taylor's done a lot of good stuff. I've covered JV matches for VSN, and the quality of the JV matches is varsity level quality. I mean, and that just speaks to her. And April set the program up so well. And April always has a soft spot in my heart. She's a Loyola grad. So I will always have a soft spot for her. And she's been such a great coach over the years. And I think being under that tutelage, Taylor's going to do just fine. Now, it's going to be interesting to see, because when you're the head honcho, it's different, right? Like that's just how it is. When I was a stringer, now I'm the sports editor over at the Farmer, and it's just different, and I understand more things than I did before. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes in a very, established rivalry, and with an experienced head coach, Coach Chatelier over at Dominican. But I mean, that was a no-brainer. I think she's going to do tremendously over there, and they've got a lot of talent coming back at Mount Carmel. I mean, they've got that throughout the program, so they're going to be just fine. So that was good timing in terms of, and April's talked about, this is when I'm going to step down for family reasons. For she has so many young kids, and her and I have been talking about that probably for 2 years. Hey, when are you gonna? Are you going to step away? We need to make sure we do a story about it. Let me know. And Chris Dave did a good job with it for NOLA, for us. But Taylor's a home run hit. That's a no-brainer, and she's going to do a lot of good things there.
We talked about your well-versed ability to not only write, cover, but announce multiple sports. Soccer, we're in the playoffs. Give me your take. What has surprised you? St. Thomas More for VSN in Division II, a nationally ranked program. But let's talk about the teams on the North Shore, New Orleans area. Just give me your take on the soccer playoffs right now, either on the boys or girls side.
Yeah, I think it's been fun so far. We've had some upsets, and I think that'll happen in the power rankings because they're not perfect, but they're the best we have right now. But North Lakes girls has got a couple of upsets, which have been really good here on the North Shore. That's been exciting. They're a 23 seed. We've had SSA is playing tonight. They're a team that I would watch on the girls' side. They're playing, St. Paul's is playing right after them. They're going to have a really interesting, likely rematch in the quarterfinals with Denham Springs, which snapped St. Paul's streak of 12 straight finals appearance last season, coming into Hunter and winning. Brother Martin Jesuit's supposed to play today. Brother Martin, a 23 seed, which is just insane to me. But it shows you how the power rankings are both good and bad. I mean, it's and then you mentioned St. Thomas More. That girls' team is just, if there's ever a program in the state, that's one that needs to be studied, because they have just been so good over the past decade, really, and beyond that, and they just continue to plug away. And it's been a fun soccer playoff. We've had some upsets. We had Vandebilt Ponchatoula went to 9 PKs in the first round.
Whoa.
I mean, we've had just some crazy things happen, and we're still in the second round. This new window, it's unique in that previously we'd have games. We'd have the quarterfinals this Friday, Saturday, and then we'd have a full week off to the semis on Friday, Saturday of the following week. They've expanded the window, so some teams are playing those second round games later this week, which means they'll play the quarters Monday, Tuesday of next week, and then the semifinals will be that, Friday, Saturday, depending on weather and if it's boys or girls and just all that sort of stuff. So I think the soccer playoffs, while they usually go to chalk, I mean, usually 1 and 2 are going to get there. This year may be one of those years where we have some of those just surprise 10 seeds or 11 seeds that are really top 5 teams that, because of power ranking anomalies, or maybe they play in a district that's not so strong, or maybe they were missing some players early in the season where, you got some losses and maybe you didn't think you were going to get. They dropped down a little bit, but they are still very quality sides on everyone.
Well, Joseph, we certainly appreciate your time and some soccer knowledge in there as well on our Diggin It Volleyball podcast. I love it. Great job. And again, can't say enough about your work and the article on the Tullis family and Danny's move to Slidell, and was sensational work. It was really, really well done. Appreciate your time this morning. Continued success, and let everyone know where they can find your work. I know most sports fans know, but for those that aren't familiar, please school them because it'll be good for them.
StTammanyFarmer.net, that goes to NOLA.com. You can also catch my work on NOLA.com, on Twitter at Joseph Halm. And Eric, I appreciate everything you do. I appreciate you letting me do some play-by-play. That's not quite Paul Boron good, but I guess it's better than some of the other options. So no one's sent me any hate mail yet, so that's probably a good thing.
That's a beautiful thing. No, we love having you, and all Joseph Halm good reps are good reps. So I love if I see you on the crew sheet or doing a game, I'm like, we're good there. We're good there, especially if it's volleyball. I know we're great there. Hey, thanks so much, man. Keep up the great work.
Appreciate it.
You got it. Joseph Halm, good friend, and just a great writer and broadcaster, and has a passion for volleyball and tremendous knowledge, in both of which he just got an example of. Let's take our final break. When we return to Diggin' It, we'll just wrap it up by telling you what's coming up, and another sport, wrestling, state championship coverage coming up this weekend. We'll tell you about it after this.
Hi, my name is Will Sermon from St. Charles St. John Parish Farm Bureau. On behalf of my entire staff, I want to wish all the players and coaches the best of luck. Real service, real people.
The Sports Pub and Grill in Destrehan has it all. A great place to watch the game, daily drink specials, and you won't believe the food. From our fresh 10-ounce burgers, fully loaded baked potatoes, and great salads too, like taco salad and grilled chicken. Need something to rinse it down with? How about one of our refreshing daiquiris? A great atmosphere for the whole family. Just a few miles west of the airport. The Sports Pub and Grill, 3001 Ormond Boulevard in Destrehan. Welcome back to Diggin' It Podcast. We wrap up the show with a look at what's coming up this weekend for VSN. We'll have the Division IV quarterfinal soccer game Saturday at 6 p.m. Newman at Pope John Paul. That's going to be an awesome game. Some action on Friday as well, some girls basketball on Friday. And then Friday and Saturday, be sure to check out our social media, probably VSN's Facebook and Instagram the most. But we'll be in Shreveport for the wrestling state championships, of course, the quarterfinals and semifinals, as well as the finals. We'll have, just very similar to what we did with the volleyball state championships, highlights and interviews on our social media of some of the bigger events, and we'll get to as many as we can. Robbie Dotry, Chad Ravanack, Ben DePalma, all three of those guys have been an unbelievable help this year, leading our wrestling coverage. They'll be there as well. We'll hear from all three of those guys. And if you want to go anywhere, just check out varsitysportsnow.com and check out the latest edition of Louisiana Wrestling Now. It's a state championship preview. Coach Robbie led the charge. We have interviews from Division I, Division II, and Division III, as well as breaking down the seeding and the brackets. So best of luck to our wrestlers that are headed up north for this weekend, and for our girls going to club tournaments this coming weekend. We want to thank our guest, Latashia Wise-Jackson, the new head coach at Vandebilt, as well as Joseph Halm, of course, sports writer for St. Tammany Farmer, as well as a sports analyst for VSN. Did a great job, especially with that article on Danny Tullis. Our director is Justin Thomas. I'm Eric Richey. Thanks so much for watching or listening to this latest episode of Diggin' It.